This past week's parasha was Tisa from Exodus. And if anyone needs to raise hand or annotate so you can draw on the screen, this is how you do it. Otherwise, let's jump right into it unless somebody has something they want to start with. Okay, who wants to read? Okay, it's a little teeny tiny
I'll
verse. Okay,
I'll give
Michael,
it
you
a
gonna read?
try.
All right,
I'll
perfect.
give it a shot. Let's see. Um, Vi, Vad, Vadbar,
Mhm.
Vadbar,
Good. Vai
and then
da bear. Vai da bear.
Vi Daber, and then Adonai, um, Al,
Mhm. El, the
Ma,
three dots make an like a bet.
eh,
Yeah.
El,
El.
El, Mo, Shet, Moshe,
That's right. El Moshe.
and then Le, Le, Amo,
Mhm.
Amor,
More,
Amor,
exactly. Lay more. Lay more.
Le, Le More.
What is the root of this word lay more? The lamed at the front means to.
Amar.
Amar it has to do with saying. So
Mhm.
to say or saying. Vaidaber has a vav and a patach at the front. That tells us what form the verb is. What form is vaidaber?
and
Vav is and,
and
correct. But with the
and
vav and patach, it tells us something a bit more. What is a
Vayektal.
what is a vayiktol? It's the Hebrew.
Complete.
Yeah, tell me.
It's complete
Mm-hmm.
narrative, maybe?
Narrative. There's the ticket. Let me see. I believe I have. Yeah, I've got this cheat sheet that most of you probably already have, but let me just kind of squish it onto the screen here a second. There we go. So there are essentially there's a limited number of verbal tenses, especially for beginners. We have katal and we have yiktol. Katal is going to be a completed action. Either he did something, or he has had or will have done something. Yiktol is going to be incompleted. So this will encompass verbs like, well, he's doing it, he will do it, or he used to do it. It's just that it was an incompleted action in the past. Those are all your yiktols. So vayiktol is taking all those yiktol prefixes, but adding va to the front, and it flips the tense. But
but that can
specifically,
um,
sorry, just a second. But specifically, it's used in the Bible as a narrative past tense. Michael, what were you saying?
no, that comes back to the question I had earlier this week with the name of Abraham. Does that mean that it fits both of those categories?
It doesn't.
Because when God gave him his name, he was not the father of a multitude yet, but he's declaring it to be. And today, all the descendants of the Jews are evidence that he's a father of a multitude, as in past tense.
Good, but there's no verb there. Yiktol and vayiktol, those pertain to verbs. Abraham's name per se doesn't pertain to a verb, but if you want to say like he became the father of many nations, then that would be a vayiktol. If he will become a father of many nations, that would be a yiktol. That's how
But
it overlaps.
but isn't it applied in the very change of the name that the verb's there?
No, because Abraham, or excuse me, let's start with Avram. Avram means
Exalted father, right?
that is, yeah, exactly. Father exalted father. And then by his new name has an extra hey in it, Avraham, and it's not a Vayiktol, it's an addition of a hey. Now, why did hey get thrown in there? There's a lot of interpretations, a lot of opinions as to why. Some people will say, hey, number 5, it's the letter of grace.
Yeah, that's I stand in
Part of
that
God's,
group. So
right, or part of God's name, because God's name has 2 heys in it, which is, you know, I
and I
don't,
applied.
right.
I
So
just
for
was I
example,
was curious.
Sarah's name too. She had a yod and then got a hey. So both she and Abram got a hey. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just because of our lesson this week on the Viatol and Yiktol. I was just wondering if it was there within the name that
No.
it's implied both.
No, in order to determine whether a verb is vayiktol, it will have a vav, a patach, and a degesh, or at least that's what you expect. A degesh in the beginning of the verb. So suppose the verb is yishmor. If I put yishmor, there's my yiktol verb. By putting vayi in the front of it, that's what turns it into a vayiktol and therefore a narrative past. Yishmor by itself means he will guard, but vayishmor turns it into a narrative and then he guarded. Like you're telling a story, and what happens next? Vayiktol answers that question. And then he did this, and then he did that, and then he guarded, and then he spoke. Um, and then whatever that yiktol letter is right here, that's what determines who the subject is. If it's a yod, that's he, 3ms he. What if it's a tav? Like vatishmor. Then who's the subject?
She.
It turns it into she or you,
Mhm.
you a man. Well, let's suppose it turns into a noon. Then what? Vanishmor. That noon tells us who's the subject.
They.
No, noon, like think of the noon in anachnu. Anachnu is we.
We.
So noon
We.
says we are the subject and then we guarded. And that's considered first person common plural. All right. Well, here we get a vav, we get a patach, but we get no dagesh. Why don't we get a dagesh? Does that mean it's not a vayiktol? Or do we just have a lot of problems with dagesh? We have a lot of problems with dagesh. Okay, so the reason we're not getting a dagesh here apparently is because of this shva, and some people would argue this letter. That is to say, when certain letters have a shva, they prefer not to take a dagesh. Another example might be yikach. The verb yikach has a yiktol yod, and it means he will. Uh-oh, we have a letter missing here. What's the letter missing? The missing
Lamed.
letter is a
Vav.
lamed. Exact, the lamed right
Love
here.
it. Love it.
Lakach means to take. So yilkach, well, we lose the lamed into the dagesh, yikach. All right, that's all fine and well. But when you turn it into the plural form, like yikchu, something happens. There's no dagesh. No. Why is it? Because certain letters, when they get a schwa, simply don't want to take a dagesh. It should be there. So why isn't it? Euphonics. What's the meaning of the word euphonics? Eu means good, like a eulogy, and phonics means sound. It sounds good. Or at least that's the reason that the grammars give us. It'll
So
simply forgo the dagesh because it sounds better, at least historically.
the yik call,
Yiktol?
right? Yik no, yeah, that was Yiktol the way you spelled that.
Yes. So yiktol tells us that it's an incompleted action, and that includes all of the verbs in this category right here. They're all going to have some sort of prefixed letter. Some of them have a suffixed letter too. And the definition of all of these yiktol verbs is an incompleted action. So yikach means he will take, and yikachu means they will take. What's the meaning of nikach?
No
We
lo
will
so.
take.
That noon tells us we, anachnu, are the subject. We will take. What about
Anakno.
ekach with an aleph?
See if
That
I
would
can
be if
expand that up. So
I or ani or anochi am the subject. So all these yiktol prefixes come at the beginning of the verb to tell us who the built-in subject is. And
now,
vaidaber is missing a dagesh right there because of the shva.
but what you were saying, where we lost a lamet in that other word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reason
Um,
I gave that example is because certain letters don't like taking a dagesh if there's a shva under them. So in the example I gave, yikhu, there should be a dagesh here because of the missing lamed. Should be. There's a lamed supposed to be there. There's supposed to be a dagesh there, but it's not. If you look in the Bible, it will be missing. Why? Because certain letters, when taking a shva, forgo the dagesh, just like what happened here.
you being Southern, and me being Southern, do we in English do we use y'all as an example of that, where it should be you all proper?
I like the word y'all. It's the South's way of fixing something in English. In English, we used to have multiple words for you. Thou was you singular. Ye was you plural. And then there were other forms attached to that, like thou, thine, thee. Those were all second person. Ye, you, your, that was plural. And over time, we stopped using this one. So you became the standard for both of them. So the South wanted to fix this problem by turning you all into y'all. So I like the convention. I really do.
But is that a sample what happens so often in Hebrew?
I think that's a sample of what happens in all languages, all living languages. There are changes over time to remedy certain problems. Absolutely.
Copy.
Who's going to
Thank you,
read
sir.
verse? Who's going to read the next verse?
I nominate
I will.
Thomas.
Jesse, did you say you want to?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Ki Tisa et Rosh B'nai Yisrael Lifkudechem Ve'not Ve'notnu Ish Kofer Nafsho LaAdonai Bifkod Otam Ve'lo Ye Ye
Right.
Vahem Negef Bifkod Otam.
Very good. And we'll talk about this right here. This is actually kamatz.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Ki tisa et rosh b'nei Yisrael lifkudehem v'natnu ish kofer nafsho ladonai bifkod otam velo yihye vahem negef bifkod otam. Sorry about that right there. I put the stress on the wrong place, even though I saw that segol and should have known better. Kofer. There's your stress marker right there. All right. This verb right here, venatanu. What form is it? Which tense form is it?
Vekatal.
Vekatal. Good. So katal is going to have a suffix on it. Vekatal flips the tense to incompleted. Who's the built-in subject?
He?
With the oo on the end?
Oh,
They.
no. They.
Right. Oo on the end will be they right here. Either masculine or feminine. We don't know. It's common gender in that form. And how do you say he gave using this root?
Natan.
How do you spell it? What vowels do I use?
Kamats and just a line. I can't remember what it's called.
Patach.
Yeah.
Very good.
Patach.
Good. All right. So here's the thing. This is the simplest form of the verb, natan. This is a long a vowel. When you add an u suffix, it's not that you somehow mysteriously get an o vowel there. No, it's an a vowel. But rather that the patach gets reduced to a shva. All right, so what am I getting at? There are multiple ways to identify a kamatz katan. And usually when we're looking for a kamatz katan, we look for a closed, unstressed syllable. Now, we have two marks here. Which one is the stress marker? I don't know. Maybe it's this one right here, venatanu, like that. And I would say that probably because the following word has an accent right there. So I don't want to stack up the accents. It's probably not venatanu ish, but rather venatanu ish. Anyway, another way to tell a kamatz katan is to expect an o vowel. And that's what I've just drawn. That's what I've just kind of illustrated. Natan doesn't have an O vowel, so natanu won't have an O vowel. None of the katal verbs will have an O vowel unless we expect there to be an O vowel. All right. Ki Tisa is the name of this parasha. Ki is a very special word. It has 3 different meanings. Does anybody know what possible meanings there are for ki? Okay, the easiest one is because. It gives you the reason for whatever. It's a conjunction, but gives you the reason. So because. Another function of the word ki is to represent content. If I know that the sky is blue, then I know ki, oh, here comes the content of what I know, that the sky is blue. So it's translated as that, but it represents content. I hope that everyone is studying Hebrew. What do I hope? Ki, here comes the content, that everyone's studying Hebrew. Then the last option is this one right here.
Is
Ki
when.
can also be, yeah, it can be when, since, at the time of. It could even be translated as, I don't want to say if, but it's an if in the sense of when. So let's just call it when or since. And that's what's happening here. When Tisa, is this a yiktoltav? It's at the beginning of the verb. Okay. If so, then what's the root? Well, we have is a sin and an aleph, right? 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 No. What's that dagesh doing in there? What does that tell us is missing? Something. If you want to take your chances,
Noon.
it's going to be a noon.
Noon. Yeah.
Mhm. Whenever you see a dagesh, most of the time it's because of a missing noon. It can be because of something else, but most of the time it's a missing noon. And in fact, that's what we have here. Nasa is to lift up or carry or bear. It's saying when you lift up, carry, or bear, but then it translates it as take. Well, that's weird. I wonder why. Let's keep reading. When you do this action to rosh, well, that's not the word some. What's the word rosh?
Head.
Of Bnei Yisrael. When you lift the head of the sons of Israel, lifkudehem, to their like appointment or visitation or essentially what we're looking at is a census. And you can tell that the translator took some liberties when translating in order to convey that idea. So thank you, Mr. Translator, even though it's not literal.
So
When
this is
you
where
go ahead.
so this is where they're where David messed up when he took a census and did not follow this. So this is where it's saying that he has to give a pay for the census, basically.
There is an example where David took a census and he shouldn't have, and his general told him not to. And when David pushed him, he begrudgingly completed the census, even though he didn't finish it. And that's what David
But
was punished for.
so would he have been punished had he done what's being? I'm assuming this is where it says you have to pay a tithe, if you will, or a a price for each head.
No, right now he's just numbering. So there's an interesting question that comes up here. Why is it that when Moses did it, there's no problem, but when David did it, all of a sudden there's a big problem? Well, one answer could be because God told him to. He told him to take two census countings, one of them in the wilderness journey and another one right before going into the land. Whereas David was not told to take a census. And in fact, he was probably taking a census because he was trying to um, gloat in the majesty of his rulership.
Yeah, ego.
Much like the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, did as well. And remember, Daniel came along and said, repent, O king, or else your mind's gonna be changed into a beast and you'll be expelled from the kingdom for 7 years and blah blah blah. It was gloating, it was boasting, it was pride, apparently. All right, then not the new. This is a vekatal. Vekatals typically inherit their tense from the preceding verb. This yiktol looks forward to an incompleted action. So this one is going to behave pretty much like a yiktol as well, except a vekatal will always come at the beginning of a sentence or phrase. So this will be translated the same way that one is, and then they shall give. Like when you take, then they shall give. They're both pointing forward into the future. And then ish, this is only one man, but the verb is plural. Wait a minute, it's not supposed to be like that. Well, what if it's being used adverbially? This is what they shall do. How are they going to do it? Each man will do such and such. The Bible's famous for doing this. So they shall give each man or every man kofer nafsho. Kofer is the same root as Yom Kippur, to cover or atone. And it's the same verb that's used when Noah was putting the pitch onto the ark, to cover it, to seal it. So this is a cover of some kind, which is translated here as a ransom. Every man a ransom of nafsho. his nefesh, his soul, his being. He's going to give it la Adonai, to the Lord, bifkod, in the action of counting. See, it's got the same root. In the action of numbering or counting, otam, them. Ve, that starts the next phrase, velo yihye, and not he or it will be, vahem, in, at, among them, negif. What is a negif? It's a plague. It's something that's striking. Well, negif, lingof. Yeah, okay, let's call it a plague. I'm happy with that. Beef code. There's that root again. Otam.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
So what is this
Had Dave,
kofer?
yeah, well, had David actually paid the ransom for every head counted, would the plague not have happened?
That's a really good question. It certainly would have brought his pride down a couple of notches if he had to pay per person. But then again, wasn't it each person who had to pay? They are
That's
the
what it says
ones
here.
that are bringing.
Yes.
So even if David decided to pay for all the people and still complete the census, I don't know if he would have been guiltless.
Probably not, but he ended up paying anyway because he ended up paying for the threshing floor because of that action.
All right. Who wants to read next? Thomas?
Okay. זה ייתנו כל העובר על הפקודים מחצית השקל, השקל בשקל הקודש עזרים גרה השקל מחצית השקל תרומה ליבא. I don't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
זה
okay.
ייתנו כל
Mhm.
העובר על הפקודים מחצית השקל בשקל הקודש 20 גרה השקל מחצית השקל תרומה לאדוני. All right, so this ze is our near demonstrative. Is it feminine or masculine?
Masculine.
What's the feminine form?
Zot.
Zot. What's the plural form?
Ele.
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 This yitnu. Yod at the front, u at the back. That means they are the subject.
Yes.
Dagesh means we have a
Yikton.
missing letter. Nun, Natan.
And Yikton, Nathan.
Yikto. They shall give. Who shall give? Kol ha'over. Everyone or each and every, all, the ones passing. Does anybody know what kind of a form this verb is or this word? O-e, o-e, hole, oshe, over, ole.
Passing.
Participle?
Participle.
Yeah, participle. Yes. Yeah.
Good. So the
Participle.
participle is going to have that ing, usually have an
Yes.
ing connotation, but there's a definite article at the front. So it's the one who is doing this action. The one, all those who are passing. Al hapkodim. Here it uses among, which is fine. It could also be concerning, about, over. Ha-pekudim, those who are numbered. Is this a participle? Doesn't look the same as this one, that's for sure. It is a passive participle. If I locked, let's say he closed the door. Okay, he closed the door. We're going to use the verb sagar. He closed it. Good, that's our 3ms katal. If he is the one closing the door, he is the soger. That's our masculine singular participle. How do you say the door is closed? Or the opening is closed? That's the job of the passive participle. If it's masculine, it's going to be sagur. Sagur means it is closed. And if it's feminine, sorry, let me get that in there. Sagur. If it's feminine, it becomes segura. A door, a delet, is feminine. So hadelet segura, passive participle. So notice that this root, pakad, that we saw several times in the preceding verse, has to do with counting or numbering. Because it's passive, it's those who are numbered. Passive. Like the difference between the closer and the thing closed, so also the difference between the counter versus those who are counted. And it's masculine plural because of the im suffix. The ones being numbered.
I'm going to ask an ignorant question, I'm sure. But English and grammar was always one of my weakest subjects in school here in the States. And I never once heard masculine, singular, masculine, plural, 3ms. I don't know what these terms even mean.
Well,
and
let's talk
I'm
about them.
sure it's because I don't speak.
Sure.
I learned some Italian when I was an exchange student in Italy, but I never learned the grammar behind any of this.
All right. So the reason that we don't hear about these things in English is because English doesn't really have grammar. It doesn't have gender anymore. It used to back in the 1200s, but we lost it. And so what I'm going to do here is kind of mark everything out. Singular, plural. I don't know if I want to include this, but I will. Okay. First thing to talk about when we see something like 3ms, let's break it up. The first thing is called the person. In any conversation, you have someone talking, you have someone listening, and then you have someone who's not part of the conversation. The person talking is first person. So I, the speaker, am first person. And if you are listening, then you are the second person. And the guy who didn't show up to class today and that we're talking about him, he's third person. So he is going to be third person because he's not speaking and he's not being spoken to. Then he is also going to be masculine because, well, if it's a man, you call him he, and if it's a woman, you call her she. So that's the M right here. And then the S at the end is the number. How many third person masculines are we talking about? Them, those guys over there, plural? No, he is singular. That's what this is. So third person outside of the conversation, masculine gender, singular number. So why do we go through all the busyness of saying 3ms when we could just say he? Well, there's actually a really good answer. He is not the only 3ms. Him, his, those are also 3ms. To him. So rather than jumping between all the various 3ms forms, we have one label that's given to anything pertaining to him. I, the speaker, would be first person. I'm a man, so it's masculine, and there's one of me, so it's singular. 1ms. Well, turns out whether I'm a man or a woman, I would use the same form, so it's actually going to be common gender. There's M for masculine, feminine for F for feminine, and then C is common. It means everybody uses the same form. There is no gender specific form. So this would be in English, I, or in Hebrew, ani. All right, so first person, second, third person, we've already talked about those. Masculine, feminine, and common gender. Singular and plural. Why did I put a D here? Does anyone know? Does anybody know what number is represented by D? There are 3 options for number: singular, plural, and dual.
A booth.
If I have let's see, suppose I have 2, let's use the word year. Do I want to use that? No, let's use shavua. Shavua. What is a shavua?
Week.
Is a week. What are shavuayim? What are shavuot? It is irregular. Sorry.
Weeks.
Weeks.
Yeah, there are places in the Bible where it shows up as shavuim, but it's properly shavuot, whatever. 2 weeks would be shavuayim. This ayim suffix is dual, and it tells you there are 2 of them, 2 weeks. What about shanatayim? 2
What
years.
is the word? What is the word there that's used by in Daniel when it's talking about the weeks of years?
Exactly.
So
Daniel
what word?
chapter
What
9.
word is used? Yeah, what word is used there?
Well, let's have a look. Daniel 9. Was it about 27? No, it's 24 probably. Let me scooch this over a little bit and turn on the compare and go up to, I think, verse 24. Okay, here it is. Ha-shavuim. So shavuim is what it's using for weeks. But those might be heptade. Is it heptades? Heptads? Like clusters of 7 years, as opposed to shavuot, which is weeks. Maybe not. When you go over to Leviticus 23 and you're learning about the festivals, then it's going to use shavuot in reference to the holiday of Shavuot. Where are you? You shall 10th flower besides. Oh, did I pass it? Nope, I haven't. 7th month, 10th. It's getting there. There it is. 15th day of the month, the feast of. Oh, I've passed it. Haha. Shavuot is up here. Kolim, Eslim, Shemtechem.
Well, the Feast of Weeks is Pentecost, isn't it?
Where's that?
Yeah, here. Shavuot. Oh,
Did
you
I pass it?
go. Yes. Yeah.
There.
On the left side. Yes, Shavuot. Nee, Shavuot.
Yeah, that's Shabbatot. Shabbatot.
Okay.
So we need
I was
the
very fast.
Sabbaths. Anyway, so the
Shavuot.
seventh Sabbath, the Shiva'it, the seventh.
Shavuot.
So I don't. Does Shavuot even occur in the Bible? Oh my gosh!
Hashavit.
Now I have to.
Shavit.
Shavu-
Shavuot.
Shavuot. Seriously?
I look
So
for.
is it a modern Hebrew word that
Yeah, it is.
it's
It
not
shows up.
in
It shows up in like New Testament, like the Pentecost shows up as Ha Shavuot, but it's not in the Bible, so it's
Mm.
probably going to be a rabbinic invention.
Mhm.
so
Mishnaic.
feast of weeks is
Mhm.
is shav
Shavuot, exactly. Weeks,
Shavuot.
right?
Shavuot.
A Shavua is a week, so Shavuot is weeks.
And that's what the
So
Feast of Weeks is what became Pentecost in the New Testament.
Right,
yeah.
because Shavuot is 7 weeks. 7 times 7 is 49. So the holiday is the 50th day. Pentecost means 50.
I have in my Bible program that is Exodus chapter 34, verse 22. Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Thomas, where are you from?
There it is. Shavuot.
Yeah,
There you go. You
yeah,
shall
that's the
observe the
same.
Feast of Weeks. So what I did is I looked for a Vav in there, and there I
Yeah,
showed
okay, that's fine.
there's
Yeah.
neither a Vav here nor a Vav there. It's a defective spelling. That's the
It's not
problem.
a problem. We
And
know that, no?
Now we know. Now we know. All right.
so it's look for a Vav that wasn't there.
Exactly. I was
Yeah.
searching for two Vavs that weren't there. Exactly. Okay. Machatzit hashekel. What is chetzi? Well, it's a split, especially in half. So a machatzit would be a half of shekel. Originally, a shekel is a weight of measure, but in modern times, a shekel has come to be a fiat currency denomination, like the Israeli
Mhm.
shekel, the new Israeli shekel. But if you want to weigh your options, you would do the action of lishkol, as a verb.
So a shekel at one time was just a weight and not I always thought of it as being a currency.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be a weight. Because remember, money as we think of today as currency, as paper, as fiat declared by governments, that didn't exactly exist in antiquity. You would take a certain weight of something valuable, like gold or silver. Well, how much? Well, you have to have a standard unit of weight with which to measure it. That was the shekel.
Well, a lot of that makes the way you describe it makes sense now, but my understanding of currency, we have the Babylonians to thank for that anyway.
Oh yeah.
So if that's the case, then the reason why
Well, it
I
was
read it,
I think it was the Romans actually who started carving the edges of the coins off in order to make new coins. And then it was later on where paper notes, essentially IOUs, turned into a standard currency. But here we can see the shekel hakodesh. It's referring to according to the shekel that is the holy one, the one of the sanctuary, shekel of the sanctuary. So this is the original standards of weights and measures was stored at the sanctuary.
now that
All right.
makes sense too. And I read it. I've been reading into it all wrong that was a currency based on the temple, but it's a
Esrim,
weight.
Esrim is the number 20. What's the number
Mhm.
10?
Yes,
Essay.
sir.
Eser. Good.
Es-
Esther.
Sheva. There we go. Sheva is what number?
7.
Uh,
What's the
4.
number for
7,
70?
yes.
What's the number for 70?
Shavim.
Shivim.
Good. Shiv'im.
Shivim, yeah.
So by turning one number into a plural, you get another number. Eser is 10, esrim is 20. Sheva is
Mhm.
7, shiv'im is 70. And you know that goes all the way up. Shloshim, arba'im, chamishim, shishim, shiv'im, shmonim, tish'im. What's the number for 100?
Mea.
Mia. Yes.
Good. Me'ah. Is
Mea.
me'ah masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
Masculine.
With an ah on the end? It's gonna be
I would
feminine.
say
Oh,
feminine.
feminine.
Yeah, exactly.
Feminine. Yeah.
What's the word? What's the number for 1,000?
Perlim. I don't know. Perlim. No. P.
No.
Elef.
Elef.
What?
Elef.
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 Yeah.
Elef.
Oh.
Is it masculine or feminine?
Oh. Masculine.
Looks masculine. Yeah, masculine.
Masculine.
Good. Does anybody know what a myriad is in English?
Oh.
We've seen it before. A myriad is 10,000.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's biblical. Yes, it is. It is biblical.
Yeah, it is.
Reviva. Reviva. I think it's reviva.
Ah, yes.
So
It's
this
from
is
Rava.
feminine. From the root rabba, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So
Rava.
so does every number have its own gender?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Let's start with the basics. Echad versus achat.
Echad is
Echad,
masculine. Yeah.
And the
Tav
feminine
is
tav.
Feminine.
feminine.
The feminine tav over here. It means that we have a dalet missing inside of here. It should have been echad, but that's hard to say. So it turns into achat
Okay.
without a dalet. What's the masculine for number 2? What's the feminine?
Yeah.
Shanaim.
Shnaim.
Shtaim.
Shnaim.
Mhm.
Shnaim.
Something similar happened here. Shtayim, it has the dual suffix 2. Shnayim also has the dual suffix for 2. But here
Yeah.
you get to see the noon.
Shin-
There, it's in the dagesh because a feminine
Okay.
tav was added. Same as over here.
Oh,
Shnayim is
it's
masculine,
yeah.
and this is feminine.
I hear a word that is shnat or not.
Shnat would be
Shnat.
the year of. That's a different word.
Yeah. That is okay. Yeah.
It's from the word
Mhm.
shana, exactly. But the same
Okay.
root. In my opinion, it's the
Yeah.
same root, though.
Mhm.
Okay, then after that, it starts getting a little weird. What's the number for 3?
Shalosh.
Shalosh. Here, I'll write it defectively. Shalosh. Is that masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
That is
No.
feminine.
It's
That's
feminine.
feminine. It's
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing
masculine.
about Semitic languages is that shalosh is feminine and shlosha masculine.
It's masculine.
Or at least it's the one that refers to masculine things. So if I have 3 girls, I would say shalosh banot. But if I have 3 boys, I would say I have shlosha banim. So these,
what?
there we go, like that. So all the numbers from 3 up to 9 follow this pattern. Shalosh, shlosha. Arba, arba'a. Chamesh, chamisha. Shesh, shisha. Sheva, shiv'a. Shmone, shmona. Tesha, tish'a. Then after that, that's it. So eser. Oh no, that's not true. Eser has its own too. Eser asara.
Okay,
Exactly.
asara, yes. Yeah.
Very good. Eser asara. Okay, so that's enough on the numbers. I don't want to get too far along, but esrim kind of took us down that way. A gera apparently is another weight of measure, and there are 20 of them to a shekel. So it's a smaller unit. Machatzita shekel. teruma ladonai. Here we have a nominal sentence. So we're going to have to supply the verb. And you can see they did that right there. Half of a shekel shall be or is teruma ladonai. What is the root of teruma? Rum.
To be lift up. Yes,
Exactly.
okay.
Like we were talking about earlier with
Yeah.
Abram's name, Ram comes from this root.
Yeah.
So a teruma is something that is lifted up. And you just imagine this word picture of lifting it up as your contribution.
Mhm.
That's why teruma comes to be contribution, offering, something given voluntarily.
Mhm.
To whom? La Adonai, to the Lord. Why is there a patach here?
Definite.
The
Because it's
is
definite.
still definite. Yes, definite.
On
Okay,
somebody's
yeah.
name?
It's
Is that
definite.
what
Oh, yes.
is that
yes,
what
yes.
the Jesse thinks or the Thomas? Do you put a definite article in someone's name?
The name is definite.
Of course
The
it's
name is
definite. So why
definite.
do you have to supply the patach, which makes it definite? It's already definite. Right? If we wanted to say for David, it would be le David. Oops, without a dagesh there. It wouldn't be la David.
Mhm.
He's already definite. You don't have to
David.
make him definite. If you put la David, it means to the David, and he would look at you weird. All right, so la Donai, the reason that there's a patach here is because of how the scribes tell us we're supposed to pronounce God's name. Let me ask you this. If you have a
Adonai. Yeah, yes. Adonai. Yeah.
very good. So the word Adonai
Mhm.
is spelled like this. If you put le in front of Adonai, do you put a shva? Supposed to, right? But that creates a problem, doesn't it?
Mhm.
L'Adonai. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So in order to
L'Adonai.
fix the problem, Hebrew turns the first shva into a
Yeah,
full
yeah,
vowel.
yeah.
La Adonai.
Okay. Yes, yes, yes,
That's
yes.
why we get a patach
Mm.
here, is because the scribes
Yeah.
want us to read God's name as Adonai. It's not because God's name is pronounced Adonai. It's because they want us to read it that way.
It's better. Yeah. It's easier.
It's traditional.
I'll go
All
with
right.
okay.
traditional.
All right. Would anyone else like to read us a particularly short verse here? Anyone else who hasn't read yet? Okay. If
I
not,
can
then who
read.
has read once? Okay, Thomas, go ahead.
Okay. כל עובד, no. כל העובר על הפקודים מבין הזרים שנה ומעלה ייתן תרומת אדוני.
Excellent. Only a couple of things that I'd have to nitpick here. Remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
three dots are eh. So this is
Okay.
esrim.
Eh.
Yes,
Now this one was difficult enough. It's understandable to make a mistake here because when you see a shva, your habit is to look over and see, well, is that a long vowel or a short vowel?
Oh, nee, ist kein Kamatz.
Das ist kein
No, no,
Kamatzkatan.
no, 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 no.
It is
Okay,
not a
okay, no, but yeah,
Kamatzkatan. Hang on. Let's
it's
take this one
stress.
step.
Yeah, yeah.
Slow down. You're thinking faster than I can speak. How do you know it's how do you know it's not a Kamatzkatan?
It's it's stress.
Good.
It's
Yes,
stress.
absolutely. A Kamatzkatan can only show up in a closed and unstressed syllable. This is stress, therefore it's not a
Yeah.
Kamatzkatan. Very good. Now, the next thing that we have to discuss is whether or not you can have a long vowel in a closed syllable. Ordinarily, no. But if it's a stressed syllable, of course you can. Look, here's one right here. Ver, long vowel. Here's another one. Team, long vowel. I think that's, yiten. There's another one. It's okay to get a long vowel in a stressed, it's okay to get a long vowel in a closed syllable if it is stressed. It is stressed. So this is going to be a closed syllable. Va-ma-la, va-ma-la. That brings me to my next question. Usually when we and to a word, it's going to be a v. Why is this va? No. Here, let me show you something.
Not so.
What's the word gadol?
Great.
Great.
What's the word? Oops, I misspelled it. What's that word right there?
Gatuli.
Is it gadolim?
Gadolim is greater.
That's what it looks
Great.
like.
Okay, so it's just the plural form, right? But I'm asking about this. Is this correct? Gadolim?
No, Gadolim.
No, it turns
Faster.
into g. It turns
Gadolim.
into
Gadolim.
gadolim. The
Gadolim.
reason being is because if you get a long vowel that's close to the stress, it can stay. But if it gets too far away from the stress, it reduces down. So it turns out that the original form of and is va. It's just that usually it's too far away from the stress and turns into ve.
They?
Yep.
They?
Here it stays because it's close to the stress. Va mala. There are countless examples where the v remains va, like va kodesh, like that. But there are also countless examples where it goes down to a shva anyway, and it's probably because people are just used to saying ve. Yeah.
So gadol becomes a gedol.
Well, gadol
Gedolim
becomes gidolim because the stress shift to the left. It was here on the dalet, which is close, and Kamatsu's like, ooh, this is cozy. But as soon as you shift it away, it's starting to feel lonely, so it goes home, and all you have is a reduced shva. It's the same idea of between element and elementary. They're spelled the same except for the extra "ary" on the end. Element is under the stress, so it's nice and long. Element. As soon as you add something which shifts the stress, this reduces to a very, very short sound. Elementary. It's the exact same thing we do in English. It's just we don't make a big deal out of it. We don't put a long vowel for element like this and then a reduced vowel for elementary, but they do in Hebrew. So that reduced sound would be equivalent to what we've done with the letter E right there in English. The stress, long vowels in open syllables become shvas. That's how it works.
Now, I can say this in Italian and I can say it in English, but I don't know how to say thank you in Hebrew.
Toda.
Toda.
There you go.
Toda.
Toda. And I would say bavakasha.
Guzi.
Toda. Toda raba.
All right. Jesse, would you like to read?
Sure. Hey, shir lo yarbe vehadal lo yamit mimachatzit hashakel latet et terumat Adonai lechaper al Shotechem.
Excellent reading. He'ashir lo yarbe, vehadal lo yam'it. Mimachatzit hashakel latet et terumat Adonai lechaper al nafshotechem. All right. And you know I'm going to ask about this. What is that? He.
It's a glutural. It's a definite.
It's a definite article. What does
Yeah,
the
and
definite
glutural.
article usually look like?
With
Patach?
patach, normal.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With dageshes.
With the dagesh, exactly. So, hey, patach dagesh. The trouble we run
Mhm.
into, like you said, is when this is a guttural letter. Gutturals don't like dagesh. Oh,
Mhm.
look, there's a guttural letter. So something different happens. What are the three different things that can happen with a definite article if there's a guttural in the first letter of the word? So we've got hey patach dagesh, which is the normal form.
Yeah.
That's option
And
one.
it's,
What are the other
and the
options?
gluturals
Oh,
with
the
Suppose an aleph or a resh starts the word. What will the definite article look like? Or I guess, or ayin.
yeah.
kamatz.
Yes, it's called compensatory lengthening. If we can't put a dot in the following consonant to lengthen it, then we
It's comes.
compensate and lengthen the vowel instead. So instead of a short patach, we get a long kamatz.
Mhm.
What if the word starts with a hey or a chet?
Just the patach.
Just the
Patach.
patach. This is what's called virtual doubling. The patach stays, but no dagesh is inserted into the guttural. We just pretend that it was doubled, even though it's not. And it probably has something to do with how hey and het can be pronounced for a longer period of time.
Mhm.
So you can virtually double it. Okay, but that's not what's happening here. Shouldn't this have been ha ashir? Or more historically, it would have been ha
Yeah, yeah.
ashir. Ha
Yeah.
ashir. It's actually kind of hard to say. And that's precisely the reason why we get a fourth category. If you
And
get
it's not stressed.
a hey, a chet, or an ayin that has
Mhm.
a kamatz that is unstressed, you have to have all three criteria.
Mhm.
Then you get he,
Yeah.
and that's what we have here. He ashir,
Yeah.
the
That's right.
rich or the rich one. Lo yarbe. There's your root rabah.
Yeah.
There's your
Yeah.
yiktol yod. Why is there a patach right there? Do you all know? Yarbe. Shouldn't it be yirbe?
It's a schwa. The problem is with the schwa. Yeah.
It's actually because of this being a hif'il. What is hif'il? What does that word mean?
Causative, active.
So active means it's not passive. So someone's doing it. The causative means you're causing something to happen. So if rabah means abundant, then yarbe means cause abundance. You're going to give more. So hif'il is a category of verb where there's either a causative voice, or historically there was a causative voice and then it was lost over time. So that patach right there is the only way you'll know that it's a hif'il. Patach shows up in the yiktol forms of hif'il. Good. So he will not cause abundance. He shall not give more. Vehadal, dal is poor. lacking. Lo yam eat. Is this a he feel?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. It's just that we have two indicators now. This chirik yod is part of the hif il. It's that il. It's that e vowel right there. Well, then why didn't we get it over here? Because it's an irregular verb. It actually has a yod as part of its root letter, and something wackadoodle happened to it. The yod went missing, and so now just a vowel at the end is all that remains. So this patach is the only way to know it's a he feel here, but both the patach and the chirik yod are how we know it's he feel here. What's the word
it's a he.
me'at? There's no hay in the yiktol.
Nee, in the yarbe. That is
I
the
know.
reason I don't.
Yeah, the hay right here is a vowel letter. It's not the
Yeah.
hay of he feel. He feel starts with a hay. Here it's ending with a hay. The hay that you see here is a vowel letter only. Let me show you what it should have been. You know what? This will be fun. Usually in the hif il, there should be a chirik here, a shva there, and a chirik yod here. Hence the name hif il. So if we take out the lamed, the ayin, and the pei, and stick in different letters like mem, ayin, tet, well, then it becomes pretty simple. Mem, ayin, tet, him eat. He caused to be less. But with this root over here, the root was originally resh, bet, yod. Oh, that's going to be tricky to pronounce. He'll be. What you might notice is that complex vowels, what are called diphthongs and triphthongs in Hebrew, like to simplify. So instead of he'll be, it just turns into hirbe. Or actually, it turns into hirba. Excuse me, hirba, like this. Okay, well then what's this up here? That's your yiktol form. When you add a yiktol letter, instead of getting yeha like this, yehar, the yod and the hay combine to be yar, and then that funny business at the end becomes yarbe. But that patach lets us know it's a he feel. Okay, this is like a level C stuff here, so I don't want to get too much off the beaten path. After you learn the verbal system, which is like a level B thing, level C starts talking about when root letters go missing. Here we have a yod missing, so that's level C stuff. What is the word me'at?
Me'at is.
No, me'at is just a little bit of something.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want some cream in your coffee? Me'at.
Me'at.
Yeah, not too much, just me'at. Or you could say harbe. Harbe is its opposite. Much, a lot. Me'at, just a little bit. So yam eat is causing to be little, giving less. Less than what? Well, the comparative mem rushes to the rescue. In English, we say something is bigger or smaller. We put an on the word, or biggest or smallest. In Hebrew, we use the min, the mem, min, from, in order to compare things. I am taller from my daughter. That's how you say it in Hebrew. In English, I would say I am taller than my daughter. Hebrew, I am taller from. So they shall not give less than. This comparative than is coming from the mem. machatzit, the half of hashakel. Wait. We looked at what a shekel is. What is a shakel? The translator was unfazed. He's like, no, this is a shekel. So then my question
Why?
becomes, why did it change? Here's your hint. A little wishbone right
Oh.
there.
Stress.
Not just stress, it's a special kind of stress marker.
Oh.
This
Comma.
wishbone,
Comma.
this wishbone is called etnach or etnachta. I call it etnachta. And it marks the logical halfway point of the verse.
I thought you were going to tell me that it's the stress that came from a chicken,
That would be
the
funny.
wishbone.
That would be funny.
Mi dispiace.
The etnachta marks the halfway point of a verse. The siluk, or also called sof pasuk, marks the end of a verse. That much you
So
already knew.
every
verse,
time when I'm looking at my Tanakh, every time I see that wishbone in a verse, that's marking the halfway point.
it's marking the logical halfway point.
I did not know that.
So if I want to say, I don't want to tell you all my children's names, but if I had 10 children and their names are Tom, Sue, Billy, Bob, John, blah, blah, and I love them a lot.
Hmm.
The logical halfway point of the verse would be after listing their names, even though it's not the physical halfway point.
Is it the puzzle form? Yes, no?
That's what I'm getting at.
Shakti?
Because
Okay.
it's the halfway point of the verse, it will take, if possible, what is called the pausal form. Yeah. Thomas, do you remember what pausal means and why it exists?
There is a complete thinking or the thought is complete and then come the next one. Or?
Yeah, it's turning the idea of inserting a comma into something that can be audibly heard. And the reason for it is because the Bible historically was read aloud in the congregation. So by changing this from shekel to shakel, it's telling everybody in the room, comma, pause. We just reached a breaking point. So whether shakel shows up at the end of the verse, in the middle of the verse, and sometimes it can even show up under this guy right here, which is called a katon, that tells you you've reached the end of a complete thought. Now, what are the behaviors of a pausal form? Well, there are several of them. Pausal forms will tend to have a restoration of vowels, especially historic vowels. So it will restore historic vowels. It will get penultimate stress.
Yeah, that's fine.
There's one more thing, and I just can't remember what it is. Vowel lengthening. So here we only get one of these three things. This historic vowel is coming back. What do you mean historic vowel? Well, the word shekel has two segols in it, and both segols are artificial. The original word for shekel was shakel. Well, I guess it really would have originally had a long vowel here, but I'm going to write patach so we don't confuse it for a kamatz katan. Well, I'll go ahead. Now that I've said that, I'll go ahead and put the long vowel. Shakl. Shakl. Well, that's really hard to say, putting a k and a l right next to each other. That's the reason Hebrew inserted an artificial vowel here. Shakel. And that segol over time had an influence on here and turned it into shekel. They're both artificial. Here, the original vowel is coming back. Ooh, speaking of, what about, where was it? Where was it? Where was it? Right here. Nafsho. We read this several slides ago. Well, I thought the word was nefesh. Exactly. The original
That
word
is
was
so.
nafsh. The original word
Nah.
was nafsh, which is really hard to say unless there's a pronominal
Yeah.
suffix. So with pronominal suffixes, we get the original form back. So instead of
Yeah.
nafsh turning into nefesho, it's nafsho.
Yeah, it's a vowel. The vav.
So if we saw the word nefesh in a pausal form, what would it look like?
Mhm.
What would the word nefesh look like in pausal form? Naf, or
Naf.
sorry, nafish. Exactly.
Nefesh. Also.
Nafish.
Mm.
All right, now I've lost my space. I need lost my. Here we were. There we go.
Na.
Latet. We have two noons missing. This is from Natan.
Mhm.
And the tav at the end historically was a part of all of your infinitive construct verbal forms, but got lost on all of them except the irregular ones.
Only, yeah, they.
So it's an infinitive construct. To give. Literally, it's just to give. Where do they get the when they come from? Where does that come from? Well, what was said in the previous verse. Literally, it's to give. Give what? This answers direct object marker. Terumat Adonai, the contribution or offering unto of the Lord. Lechaper. There's that root again. What Hebrew word sounds like lechaper? What has the same root as lechaper? Yom
Kippur.
Yom Kippur. Good. So lechaper is to make a covering or atonement, same as Yom Kippur. Al nafshotechem. Look, there it is. Yay! The original form nafsh has the original because of the pronominal suffix on it. Here's the ot, making it plural. The yod is inserted. This is historically a genitive yod, but it lets us know that it's plural in biblical Hebrew. And chem says it belongs to you all, your beings, your souls. I really don't like the translation souls because it's not really something you can quantify.
Yes. A. Te.
The word nefesh probably is related, at least according to the etymological dictionary, is related to linshom. Nasham means to breathe. This evidently swapped, and the mem, which is a bilabial, changed out for a pei, which is also a bilabial. Swap it out, and you get nefesh. Apparently, a nefesh is something that has a throat and breathes. So, fish, are they a nefesh?
No, they got gills.
Exactly. Bugs, are they a nefesh? They breathe through their skin. But birds and animals, they breathe, so they are called, at least in the story of Noah and the Ark, they are called a nefesh as well.
Nefesh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Let me ask another.
Yeah, go
Let
ahead.
me ask another one. Another one of those naive questions, because one of my favorite instructors, he's always or teachers is always using the Jewish word oy vey. I don't know what oy vey means.
Depends on the context.
Well, in Italian, I know what no lo so means, and that means I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know what.
No, oy vey doesn't mean I don't know. Oy vey is I don't know, I guess it's an interjection. Like, oh crud. Oh no. Oh man. Oy vey. Something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Here we go. All right. Would anyone like to read this slide?
I would tell you I would love to, but right now I'm having to be the chef and I having to cut things, so I'm watching you.
Yeah, don't do that. All right, fair enough. Would
I
anyone
will.
else like to read?
I can.
Go ahead, Jesse.
ולקחת את כסף הכיפורים מאת בני ישראל ונתת אותו על עבודת אוכל מועד וחיה לבני ישראל זיכרון לפני אדוני לכפר על נפשותיכם.
Very good. Nafshotechem. Let's see. I'm not sure. Did you put the stress on the end of these Vekatal words?
Probably not.
When does the stress change in a Vekatal verb?
Uh,
Only in two forms.
Second person, yeah. Second person.
Here we get all of our
Oh.
Katal suffixes, right?
Mhm.
So the first person form, see that little symbol right there?
Mm-hmm.
That lets you know
Yeah.
it's supposed to be penultimate stress. This one is here too. This one is here
Second
too.
person.
There are three of them.
Okay.
Well, these two will shift their stress in the Vekatal form. It's one of the ways you can tell that it's Vekatal instead of just a Katal verb with and added to the front. So instead of being ati or ata, it becomes final stress. Velakachta, venatata. So we know those are Vekatals.
Mhm.
We could tell from the context that they're Vekatal also, but you know, the more we know. Okay, velakachta. Who's the built-in subject?
You
What did you do?
took.
Lekker
Shall
is
take.
You
shall
shall
take.
take.
Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. So you put those three ideas together, and you shall take. Take what? Direct object verb.
Money.
Kesef hakiporim.
Yes, it is money.
So kesef is not money,
Silver.
or worded
Silver,
differently.
silver.
Or worded differently, what we call money is not money. There we go. So
It's
money
normally
is
silver.
historically gold and silver. Historically, it's
Yeah,
something
gold.
valuable like gold or silver. Kesef is silver. Hakiporim,
Okay.
the silver of the atonement that was made. Me'et, me is mean from,
With.
et is with. So it's with them, and you're taking it from with them. From Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, venatata, and you shall. You see the word appoint, but what's the what's that?
Nathan. The
Yeah, it's
root
from
is
Natan.
Nathan.
Absolutely, it's from Natan, which leads me right into my next question. Why is there a dagesh in this tav?
Missing nun.
Missing
The second
nun.
person.
No, it's not. See, here we get a dagesh in the tav because it's a weak dagesh. This one is a strong dagesh since there's a vowel before it. So my question should have been, why is there a strong dagesh in the tav?
Missing
Because of the
nun.
missing nun. You said it's from Natan. There's your missing nun. And you shall
yeah.
give or put or set oto, him or it,
Oh, yeah.
referring back to the kesef, al avodat ohel moed. What is
Okay.
avodat?
The one serving.
Service.
It's not
servant.
ovedet. That would be the
To
one who's
serve.
serving. Here it's the word avodah. It's a feminine
And it's a
abstract
construct.
word related to work. So this is the work that's being done, the service.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
and not-
construct.
and it's in the construct. Very good. Instead of avodah, it becomes avodat with a shortened patach
I
there.
heard that.
The service of, the work of, ohel, the tent,
Tent. Yeah.
moed. What's the root of moed?
Is ma'ad
The mem is part
without
of the mem
vav.
is part of the structure of the word.
Yeah, yeah, but without a vav.
No, the
Ah.
vav is original.
Echt? Yes.
It
Ja,
turned into, okay, so the original root is vav ayin dalet, but whenever vav shows up at the beginning of a word, Hebrew turned it
It's
into
yod. Yeah.
with rare exception. Like for example, in modern Hebrew, a va'ad is a it's a, oh come on, it's a meeting of people. It's a committee, like a committee. So a moed is something related to meeting. It's the time or space or place, or it's a meeting something. So the tent of meeting, a tent of that noun, the mem turns it into a noun, much like the mem on migdal or the mem on makom.
Okay.
A noun. The whole idea of vav being a root letter may surprise some people, but think of yeled. Yeled is a boy or a child. It's someone that is born, really. In the he feel, it turns into holy.
Vav.
The vav comes back. And there's one place in the Torah where the word yeled shows up as walad.
Yes. Yes.
And it's talking about where Sarah was without valad. Now, this walad turns into a V later on, valad, but originally it was a W sound, which may help explain how it turns into a yod. Walad and yalad they sound a lot more similar than valad. Anyway, vehaya, there's another vekatal. That it will be, that it may be, livnei Yisrael, 2 or 4, the sons of Israel. Lezikaron, what's the root?
Zachar.
Remember. Without getting, how do I say this?
Zachar. Oh, memory.
Zachar,
Yeah.
the root Zachar means to pierce.
To
So if it's piercing your head, you remember it. And without getting too graphic, it's also the reason why males are called Zachar.
Yes.
Lifnei, to the face of or before Adonai. Lechaper, remember Yom Kippur. Al nafshotechem. Nafsh, the original form. Ot is plural. Yod is also plural. Chem is yours, y'all's. Look at this itty bitty little verse. Does anyone want to read this itty bitty little verse?
I'm out of the kitchen now, so I'll go for it. Come on, screen. There you go. Yeah. 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 A.
Vai daber. Vai daber.
Vaidaber. Then Adonai.
Right.
And then El.
Yep.
Moshe.
Yep. Moshe.
And then Lay more.
Lay more. I wonder, is this like the exact same verse that we started with at the very beginning of class? I believe
It is.
I think it is.
I think it is.
That, but what you just said before the verse brought up another conversation between my wife and I this morning that maybe you could give some clarity to. Because when God told Moses, at the beginning of the verse, it says that God spoke to Moses face to face.
Oh,
But yet just a few verses down, it said he tells Moses, "No one can see my face and live."
mm-hmm. So
So
either there's a contradiction in the Bible, or we have to reinterpret what seeing God face to face, or excuse me, talking face to face with God as a friend talks with a man talks with his friend. Those are basically our two options. Now, I don't know
yeah,
about
and
you, but I'm of the opinion that I don't think there's a contradiction in the Bible, and most of us here believe the same.
Mhm.
So therefore, we can only go to that other passage that talks about God speaking with Moses face to face as a man with his friend, and realizing that that's a figure of speech. Now, the word paneh or panim, face, is used in Hebrew multiple ways. Like if you could be lifnei somebody, think about it. If I'm in front of the house, I would say lifnei habayit. Does the house have a face?
Mm-mm.
No, it's figured.
Yes,
Well,
but
well, I would say yes and
Panam is
no, because no, it does not have eyes and a nose and the mouth, but it does have a front side. So the word
this is a country.
panim simply means the facing thing, the front thing. In fact, it's the reason we
Yes.
say in front of.
Mhm.
It in Hebrew, you would say in the face of. It's the same word. So
well,
we
this
already know that
this
panim is used in a figurative way to refer to things that don't even have faces. So, we have to differentiate between the thing on the front of someone's head and the part that someone sees because they're in front of it.
Mhm.
Now, this morning we came to the conclusion is that when he meets Moses, it's at his it's always the cloud covering God's glory.
Okay.
Look, I would argue that God does not have
Mm.
a body. I'm pretty sure there's scriptural evidence for that, because he creates time and space and matter. It means he has to be beyond them. Might even say
I will
outside of them. So
I
can
will
God
agree with
interact with his creation? Yes, absolutely. He can do it through a prophet. He can do it through a king. He can do it through a Messiah. He can do it through a burning bush, through a cloud. But does
I
God have a face? It becomes a question of, well, God is outside of space and time. So how are we defining God? The God that is outside of this universe,
Mhm.
or the way he interacts with the universe? Can God send an angel? Yes. Can he
Yes.
send a messenger? Can he send a
Mhm.
Messiah? Yes. Will those figures have a face? Yes. Is that the face of God? Well, if Yeshua is the Messiah, then did anyone ever look at his face and burn to a crisp? You see what I mean? We have to
Mhm.
draw distinctions here. God is
yeah,
able
but
to limit himself in order to interact with his creation.
well now we move into the whole new concept because um I I I can neither prove or disprove my suspicion here. But
Oh,
my suspicion is that when God allows Moses to see his back, and it says he sees his goodness, and when Elijah, who's in the apparent same cleft of the rock of the same mountain,
Moses, not
uh,
Elijah.
no, I'm saying Elijah, when he heard the still small voice,
Ah, I
he's
see what you
in
mean.
he's in the same cleft. They knew where it was on Mount Horeb.
Okay, but the Bible calls it a cave. Just
Yeah,
want to clarify.
that's fair. That is
Yeah.
fair.
Can we get
And
back to reading though? I
yes,
see that we have someone extra here who would probably like to read. Real quick, should I mention, maybe should I mention real quick why there's a strong dagesh in this lamed? Does anyone have a?
I need to get back to the kitchen, so thank you for everything, Jared. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Shalom.
Shalom. Does anyone want to venture a guess as to why there's a strong dagesh in the first letter of a word? It's a mistake, clearly, right? Obviously, someone dotted an I or crossed a T and shouldn't have. No, it's a strong dagesh because of what precedes. Do you remember the story of when Moses was named? And Pharaoh's daughter says she names him Moses because she drew him out of the water, or rather, she said, I drew him out of the water. The verb there is meshi.
Masha. Masa. Mashtihu.
Oops, nope, put it right there. There we go. Me.
Mashi. Also.
The
Mashtihu.
root is mem, shin, yod. T says I did it. Who? I did it to him. The root is mem, shin, yod. Where's the yod?
That's why in the dagesh is
That
yod.
is why the dagesh is there. There's a missing letter here. Remember, dagesh, strong dagesh always tells you, I say always, except for the case of euphonics, strong dagesh tells you that a letter is missing. Here, the yod in Moshe's name is missing. This segol hey here wasn't even added to Moshe's name until the time of King Solomon. It's a mater lectionis. It didn't exist until the time of King Solomon. The yod is in there in the lamed.
But every other instance of Lamor, there's not a strong dagesh.
If you have a word that historically had a missing letter like this yod, in let's see, following a letter that is not a guttural, you should expect the dagesh. And if it's not there, it could be because there's a disjunct incantillation mark that would stop it.
Okay.
But yeah, that's whenever you see a dagesh at the beginning of a word that's strong, that's what's going on. There's a
Okay.
missing letter.
I never
All right.
noticed that Lamor didn't have it. That's cool. Interesting.
All right. Would you, Brandon, right? Would you like to read?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Va'asita kior nechoshet v'chano nechoshet lerach lerochsa
Nice.
v'natata oto bein ohel moed uvein hamizbeach v'natata shama mayim.
Excellent. The word mayim usually has a patach. Notice that it has a kamatz. Now, we did discuss this already in class, but this is a pausal form. Pausal forms tend to get lengthening of vowels or original vowels. Mayim.
Is that called a siluk?
This little thing right here is called a siluk.
Okay.
The two dots at the end are called sof pasuk, and sometimes people use the name interchangeably for the two of them. But yes, that is a siluk.
Okay.
Yeah, excellent. I'm glad you caught that right there. The kamatz katan, closed syllable.
Almost missed it. Yeah.
That's okay. You did.
Lerochsa.
Exactly. Lerochza. Probably coming from, well, it's coming from rachatz, but in the infinitive construct.
Can I ask a question about rachatz?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
I know the rabbinic interpretation, in a lot of cases anyway, is that is a mikvah and some of the purity laws.
Yeah.
Is there anything there to indicate that that's a mikvah and not just a simple bath?
Not in the Bible.
Okay, so that's extra.
If you include New Testament, there are mikvaot in the New Testament. There are also mikvaot in the time of the New Testament in the Qumran community. So if you'll use those as evidence, great. If not, then no.
Okay.
Okay, ve'asita. This should have been ve'asita. Should have been, right? If it's a
Yes.
vekatal. Nevertheless, it kept it right here. Bummer. I would have expected something else. And you
Yeah.
shall do or make. Notice what's the
Yes.
root of asa?
You made, you did.
No, the root.
Oh,
Made
and
seem
Oh,
yod.
so asa.
Just
Ayin
like
sh-
earlier with Moshe, it was mem shin yod. You don't get to see the yod. Most of the time, you don't get to see the yod here, but there it is.
That's a he.
No, it's not. Yeah, the hey is a vowel. It's not a root letter. In the word
Okay,
as,
okay, yes. The
that's
root
all I mean to
letters.
say.
Okay.
Exactly. In the word
Yeah,
asa,
but the root.
this is a vowel. So where's the
Okay,
consonantal
the root
root?
letter.
There it is. And you shall make kiyor, basin, nahoshet. What is a nahash?
Snake.
Snake.
What is
Snake.
nahoshet? And what's the link,
Bronze.
the
Bronze.
connection?
Nachash.
The color, maybe.
Maybe the color, exactly. Vechano, what's the root of kano?
Knopf.
What is it? Say again?
Knopf.
No, the O here is his.
Oh.
Something
That must be
Um.
5. Is it cuff 5?
Hanan.
Cuff.
And
It's either going to be I
5.
think it's kanan. I think it's double noon.
yeah, double.
Otherwise, it could come from the root kun, like this, something established.
Oh,
But I'm pretty
cool.
sure.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure it's kanan. Maybe it's a derivative of kun, but I'd have to look it up.
And that missing noon is in that strong dagesh right there.
Right, exactly. You have a strong dagesh that says something's missing. It's probably going to be either a missing noon or a reduplicated letter, which in this case is one and the same.
Mm.
Like if you had I'm trying to think of like yisobu.
Yes. So.
Yisobu. The root is savav. One of the categories of irregular verbs or irregular roots is when the second and third root letter are identical. So here, samech bet bet. Why is there a dagesh? Because the root is samech bet bet. But that's what I'm wondering here is whether it's kaf nun nun. And nechoshet, we already talked about lerochza for the action of washing. Actually, you know what? I said this was a infinitive construct. I don't think it is. It looks more like the pattern of the word chokhmah or orma. Rochza. That makes a lot more sense. So that would make it a proper noun, a feminine noun, rather than an infinitive construct. Venatata, and you shall give, put, set, oto, it, ben ohel moed, between the tent of meeting we already talked about earlier, uven hamizbeach. What is zavach or zevach?
To offer.
Slaughter.
To sacrifice.
Slaughter.
Slaughter. It's kind of a gross word in English, but the mizbeach is the place of slaughtering, the slaughter place. Much like we saw the moed with the mem, with its root, vav ayin dalet, that turns into yod ayin dalet. Venatata, and you shall put, set, give, shama. What is this?
There.
Feminine.
Not
There.
feminine.
Yeah.
It's not feminine. It has to take the stress.
No, it's a direction. Yes.
Directional hey. So it's towards sham. To there. Mayim. We could ask what the root of shamam is. Excuse me, I just said shamam. Dang it. We could ask what the root of sham is. It might be shamam. The problem there is that there are lots of shamams, like shamam could be destroy. But what we learn in level E is that there are multiple sounds that used to belong to the letter shin. So we don't know if this is the same shamam destroy as the word for there. Probably not. Why would it be? What's the connection? But if you guys ever want to look up some of these etymological connections, look it up in Klein's etymological dictionary. You could either pay a wad of cash in order to buy a physical copy of it, or you could go to Safaria. And no, it's with an F. It's with an F.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, Safaria, and you can look it up for free. Here, let me show you. Oops, hang on a second. Can't show you that.
While you're pulling that up, can I ask you about the directional hey? Is that almost always? Because I've noticed when I've seen it, it never has a stress on it. Like Shama rather than
It
Shema.
never has the stress. It
Okay.
never has the stress. Okay, Safaria. Oh, I already have it opened up. Okay, cool. Klein's Dictionary on Safaria.com. Let me give you the link in the chat.
Very handy resource
Very,
there.
very handy. So what I'd want to know is, let's look up the word sham. If you can't type in Hebrew, you can use these here. Sham. I guess I have to use that one. Uh-oh. I wanted to find the word sham, but looks like it. Go back. All right, let me type it faster. Sham. All right, I'm just going to use my keyboard. This is ridiculous. All right. Right here.
Müde. Sham.
Is it looking it up? Really? How do I? Come on. Oh, I have to press here.
Mhm.
I really like the book a lot better. Looks like it's thinking. The symbol up on top is going around and around and around like it's thinking. Oh, mercy me.
While
Okay.
it's thinking, I have another question about Vasita and then Venatata. Those are both
Yeah.
vecatals and they're both 2ms. Why does one have a stress on the end and the other not?
Okay, for that, let me be honest with you. I don't know the reason for it, but I have
Okay.
noticed that the vecatals, whenever it's a lamed yod verb, meaning that third root letter is a yod, I've
Hmm.
noticed a pattern where it does not change the stress.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
so it must be something to do with that third root letter being a yod.
Okay.
It looks like the website's down, guys. I'm so
Hmm.
sorry. Hopefully you can try this out later and have better results than I'm than I'm getting now. Yeah, bummer. Okay, sorry about that. Try it again later when the service is working. All right, it is past time for me to go have some dinner, so I'm going to wish you all a wonderful time. Brandon, is there any chance that is not trying to pry? Did you mean to come earlier?
Yeah, I set my alarm for the wrong
Okay,
time.
all right, cool. So I'll go ahead and continue sending out those reminders.
Yeah.
On the Telegram and WhatsApp. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. I don't know. I may not be able to be here in 2 weeks. I've got a big project I'm working on, but if I can be, I'll send a message. But I look forward to seeing you all next week.
I'm good.
Thank you.
Litrot.
Thank you.
Shalom.
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 Thank
Shalom, Angela. Oh, Enoch just joined. Shalom, Enoch.
Ciao, 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 ciao. Macht man da.
Sorry, I'm going to wait until he gets on so I can at least say hi to him. Shalom, Enoch. Oh, he's still connecting. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the class. See you guys next week. Litrot v'shalom.
Later.
Litrot. Bye, Eileen.